its way.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the WWG podcast and welcome to the first weekly episode of Sunday Night Gaming. That is right. This is the second portion of the WWG podcast, the second half. I'm here with Jesse, of course. Jesse, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
All right, Jesse, what's behind you? What do you got?
Hey, man. So there's just a couple of collectibles over here. I got that. That's a Final Fantasy VIII logo. I got some amiibos up there. I got the original Famicom Chrono Trigger game, some mangas, some books. You, man, I love gaming.
Love to see it, and I love gaming as well. In case you're going to see, here's a Skyward Sword poster over here, a green screen, just a classic streaming green screen, an NES poster, some amiibos are over there. I've got gaming memorabilia everywhere. There's stuff in front of me you guys can't see as well. But guys, welcome to Sunday Night Gaming, and I like for this to be more of an open-ended discussion type of podcast where you guys down below can also interact with us and give us your gaming stories, gaming predictions, and just overall gaming memories, because that's what we're all here to celebrate, what brings us together in gaming. And one of these huge games that brings us together in gaming is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, or it's just the Smash franchise in general. That's how Jesse and I play a lot of our games together, at least. Whenever we're playing a game together, it is 99.5% of the time going to be Smash Ultimate. There's the rare occasion where we fail on F-Zero on the Super Nintendo, but besides that, it's usually Smash Brothers. And Jesse, can you believe that Smash Ultimate came out almost 3 years ago, and now in less than a week, in 2 days actually from when you guys are going to see this, the last character will be announced and revealed? How do you feel about that, Jesse?
Sad. It's been such a wonderful game. I think Smash Ultimate is amazing. It's outstanding. A lot of time I've spent on that to get into Elite and all that on Smash Online. And last is not a word I want to hear associated to that game. I just want to see them keep adding stuff on, but here we are. So excited, but sad.
I understand. Yeah, this is going to be a very bittersweet moment unless he pulls the trigger and decides, oh, we're doing a third pass, but that's not happening whatsoever. No one get your hopes up. That's a it's a fad. We just got to celebrate this last fighter who's going to be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And so I want to ask your opinion, Jesse, before we get into fighter predictions. What have you thought of the fighters that he's announced for DLC so far? We've had Piranha Plant as the free character to come out after the game launch. That doesn't really count, though. And then for the first Fighters Pass, for those who were unfamiliar, Joker came out first. Then it was Hero from Dragon Quest. Then it was Banjo-Kazooie. Then it was Terry from Fatal Fury and King of Fighters. And then it was Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses. That completed the first Fighters Pass. And then this second Fighters Pass started off with Min Min in June 2020. And then we had Steve from Minecraft, then Sephiroth, then Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade 2. And then most recently in June 2021 was Kazuya from Tekken 7. And now we have one character left. Jesse, before we get to predictions, how have what have you thought of the DLC picks that they've gone with so far?
Good. I'm going to say good. So I think they've done a wonderful roller coaster of characters here. I think Piranha Plant, while not a very good character, is still a very interesting concept, and it's really refreshing to see that type of playstyle implemented in Smash. And then you go into some other characters that are more traditional based, like the Byleth, etc. But I love seeing Byleth in the game as a Fire Emblem fan. I loved seeing Sephiroth in the game as a Final Fantasy fan, right? But I have to say, seeing Steve in the game, I hate Minecraft. I've never played it. I have no interest in playing it, but his play style is just absurdly interesting. It breathes new air into this game. And same with Pyra and Mithra. The switching out constantly, once again, not a game I've played a lot of, but it's just such a breath of fresh air for these characters. So no matter whether I've liked the characters or not, I think they've done wonderful in their implementation.
Oh, it's incredible. And I just got to give the developers so much credit for being able to implement over 80 characters and still somehow managing to find at least a semblance of balance in the game. Like, no matter when you're just playing for casually, sure, if you're competitors, but we're not really catering to you guys at the moment. But if you're just playing casually in Smash Brothers, you can pick any character and you stand a chance. Like, everyone in competitive mode will say, "Oh, Little Mac and Kirby, Ganondorf, Dr. Mario, those are the worst of the worst." But then just have me as Dr. Mario, Jesse as Little Mac. Like we can show you like these players have a little more than than the competitive players may be giving them credit for. So any character in this game is viable, like for the most part. And that's the beauty of Smash Brothers is that you can pick your favorite character and you could just have fun with him and maybe even win. So,
Yeah.
but
There really isn't a Bayonetta or a Meta Knight in this game. Game breakers from in the past. This game,
right.
it's balanced.
So somehow they did it, and they're gonna do it one more time with this final DLC character. So, Jesse, there are thousands of video games across the entire American, Japanese, global marketplace, but only one
Only
has
one.
that final invitation for Smash Brothers Ultimate, and then no other characters. They seal the gates on the invitations, and that is that. It's been a heck of a ride, and who would you like to see? This is our podcast. The fans below will comment down who they want to see, but who do you want to see? Not think, but want to see.
Oof. All right, I had a think ready, but a want, dude, give me a Chrono Trigger character. There it is. There's Chrono Trigger. I put it up for a reason today because I want to see Magus or Chrono or even Frog out there. Yes, they're another sword character. I get it, but the magic and then just the history behind it, I think they would do amazing things with them. Give me a Chrono Trigger character, please.
I that's a very good pick. For me, Mario is pretty much my biggest franchise. It's my favorite franchise of all time. So I got to go with a Mario representative. And there's a lot to choose from. Probably one of my favorites is Petey Piranha, from Sunshine and some of the Galaxy games, although it wasn't exactly Petey, but he's shown up as side characters and he's just a major boss. I don't think he'll get in because they already have Piranha Plant, but man, it would be cool to be able to play as one of those just huge Mario bosses. Funky Kong would be a great choice if he wasn't more or less an echo of Donkey Kong, but
Right.
the Mario cast, man, has such a huge diverse array of characters, and just seeing any one of them honestly would make my day happy. I don't want to be a Waluigi fan. Like I'm not gonna say Waluigi. If he gets in, that would be kind of nuts. But yeah, there's a lot to choose from. So I'm sticking with a Mario boss. Petey Piranha would be my pick for my want. But there's a lot that goes into realism. Like we got to be realistic. For example, and I guess when
Bring
it
it
comes to
back to
Smash
Earth.
Ultimate, though, like there really is no, I guess, back to Earth standard unless you're talking about like Shrek and Goku. That's when you got to bring it back to Earth. But in the world of video games, there's not many limits when it comes to who can be included in Smash Ultimate. Game ratings don't really matter. Console exclusives that aren't Nintendo don't really matter anymore. So really, anyone it seems like can make the market. Jesse, you said you had to think. So who do you think Sakurai has already implemented into Smash Bros. Ultimate as this final character?
Me, Mage. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, it's I see Crash Bandicoot being the last character here. Here's
Mhm.
why. Right, let's talk about moveset real quick. He's got his spin attack, which is a great push away. It's a great edge guarding tool, right? You can also use that for gliding, or coming up as he could in the games. He's got double jump, so that fits right into the Smash Ultimate play style. He's got a belly flop, much like King K. Rool. He's got his bazooka, which is a long range tool that you can go ahead and pop out. So he's very versatile. Plus, for the mask, what was his name? Uka Uka, I think his name was. Correct me in the wrong
Mm-hmm.
in the comments, please. But he that could be a great Smash Ultimate right there. Put on the mask, he's invulnerable. He runs around like Sonic. That the character is already pretty much designed, and now you're just combining all these other elements into one streamlined, goofy, different character.
Right. I definitely think that would be a solid choice, and I would be very happy with that. As with pretty much any choice Sakurai goes with at this point. So, as you guys know, if you're watching this when it comes out, 2 days, a day and a half until the Smash Ultimate character gets revealed. For me, I actually created a YouTube video of 10 characters that I think could fill out that last slot. I will link it
In
down
the
below
link,
in the description. I'm just gonna, reveal my, I guess, number one to you guys of who I think has the highest chance of getting in. And as I guess somewhat disappointing this may sound, I think they're gonna pick a Pokemon representative from Sword and Shield. I think they're gonna go with Toxtricity. He's a poison type
Okay.
Pokemon, a purple and yellow. You've played Shield, so I think you've encountered the character or the Pokemon before,
Yep.
and he seems to be the most popular among the most popular Pokemon, new Pokemon from that game, according to various websites and research polls. So, and based on just his unique traits, it seems to me that if they were to go with a Pokemon rep from Sword and Shield, I think Toxtricity probably has one of the best shots to make it in that lineup for Smash Ultimate. Will I
You
be
know,
happy if that happens? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but it could be a welcome addition.
I have to say it's not a bad thought because toxicity. Now, I'm gonna show my nerddom for a second. It's coming.
Go ahead, go ahead. You
So
played Pokemon. I haven't, so go
yes,
ahead.
yes, I have. So toxicity has two different forms, right? He has that purple and yellow form, and he has a purple and blue form. Depending on which version you play with, is what you get, right? If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I played Sword and Shield, but that's your two costumes right there, man. You
Mhm.
already got your costumes picked out because he already comes with alternates, and you could do a slight, cell shading effect, or
Mhm.
change the lightning or whatever attack that he does, or the poison attacks. I think you're onto something there. I would I wouldn't complain, to be fair. We haven't had a Pokemon
Yeah,
representative in a while.
that is true. That is true. So there's definitely a lot to go by, and don't don't go anywhere, guys, because make sure next week come back here and we will do, I guess, full analysis, on this last character announcement, and how wrong we were, and how out of the blue Sakurai was with this pick, and just how excited we will be for this character's release date if he hasn't already been released, if he doesn't shadow drop him sometime this week. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for next week for that character reveal. But we got some more
Before we go, Gabe,
gaming news to talk. Go ahead.
do you consider Toxicity uh, a sword Pokemon? Or I should say a sword character. Everyone despises sword characters, but I mean, he's coming from Pokemon Sword. Does that make him a sword character?
I don't think so, just because I think I mean, you had a good idea there, but I think it's more just the human looking, Japanese made JRPG looking characters that throw people through for a loop. And we're gonna be blunt here. No matter what character Sakurai reveals, there will be people that won't be happy. That's just how it is with every Smash reveal. So hey, let's not pointing fingers in here. I'm perfectly content with this roster, and so yeah, we will see how this next character goes, guys, and come back next week for our reactions and analysis on this character. But that's going to do it for Smash Ultimate for this discussion. It's amazing how we can have nearly a 15-minute discussion on one single character, on one single game. That just goes to show the power that this game has over the entirety of the gaming community. And it's quite impressive, I'm not going to lie. But going from one video game to 64 video games, IGN decided to do a massive March Madness style bracket. I found this like 2 weeks ago. And on my other podcast I do with my one of my best friends from college, we analyzed this from the Sweet 16 downwards. But now, on this first episode of Sunday Night Gaming, we have the final two in the IGN Best Video Game of All Time bracket. And this is a fan voted bracket with millions or hundreds of thousands of fans voting on each matchup each and every week. And we are down to the final two. I gave Jesse the link to this, and he's looked at it for a little bit before this podcast has started, and we are down to the final two: God of War 2018 versus Grand Theft Auto 5. Jesse, as someone who grew up with the side scroller games in the 80s and the various Metroidvanias and just the overall classics of those days, the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1, how does it feel that two games from the 2010s are in the final two for the best of all time
I think
video
it's
game?
telling. I think it's telling that the people who took this survey are the people who are younger and more plugged in. And so they just played this game, a couple summers ago or the last summer. And they're like, oh, it's the greatest game ever, man. It got me through, I don't know, fifth grade.
I thought you were going to say quarantine, but like, damn, okay. Sure, we'll go with that.
But
That is
this list broke my heart, man.
I mean, and credit to IGN for at least including some decent games on here. I mean, there's definitely a lot of games they left out and a lot of games that they should have included. For example, my roommate was arguing that they should have put Red Dead 2 in instead of for Red Dead 1, for example. And, a lot of games have gotten just one game per franchise on this list, and we'll show the bracket on screen so you guys can see it with us. But I'm looking at it right now, and it's like some games, for example, like the GTA series, for example, have had multiple games on here show up, and there's a few other games or a few other franchises that have more than one game show up, and it's almost confusing in a way where it's like, what makes the franchise deserve more than one representative in here, and what makes it not. I don't know. It's very telling. So, what do you think, Jesse? You're looking if you're looking at this bracket, and there's some games from before 2000, like Pokemon Yellow, Mario 64, Final Fantasy 7, which got knocked out to Breath of the Wild in the round of 64. I know that must not have been nice to see. Same as Apex Legends beating Super Metroid. So there's just a lot that went wrong, at least for you. Burnout 3, for example, took out Chrono Trigger somehow in the round of 64. So I know this is all breaking your heart, but I don't know if you had to rearrange this bracket, like what games would you have included, or I guess what do you think people are missing with these older games compared to these newer ones with this bracket, with the way the votes have gone?
I mean, that's a lot to unpack there. So I'll be
Right.
straight with you, and I'll say a lot of my favorite games did make this list. Okay.
Right.
I could run through them if you want, or I can just
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So starting on the left side here, I'm gonna have to look at it, okay? So I was a big League of Legends player. I was pretty competitive in that for a while. I wasn't anything great, but I was like a gold player in League of Legends. So I really liked that game. Chrono Trigger, I've talked about it already. One of my favorite games of all time. That's on here. Ocarina of Time, I think, is the best Zelda game ever.
Right.
Diablo 2 is an outstanding game. I really enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite computer games growing up. Smash Bros. Ultimate, we've already talked about that. Amazing game. Yep. Let's see what other great games in here. Pokemon Yellow, one of the weaker Pokemon games, but still a really good one. Right. Super Mario 64, I think, is the best 3D Super Mario game. I'm sorry for all the newer ones. I mean, like I said, there's really good games on here. Super Metroid is the best Metroid game out there. And come at
Until
me.
Dread.
Hopefully Dread's good, better. Yeah. Come at me, Prime fans, though. Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of the best Mario games. I'd say Super Mario.
I agree.
What was it?
World is up there too.
World. That's the one I was thinking of. That's a really good one. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of the greatest Castlevania games. I'd say second best. And Resident Evil 4 right there. And then Final Fantasy 7. I love all of those games. So I could say, 30% of this list I love. And so I can't complain. But
the fans just did them dirty.
Yeah, a majority of what I love, apparently, either the newer generation or those that subscribe to IGN just don't love. So what would I change? I would change who voted. Maybe just let me vote and just put my favorites up there. But in the end, I think any of the ones I listed there should have been at least in the top 10. And yet here we are.
Understandable. Yeah, I was talking to this with my roommate on the previous podcast, but it's so starking to me, the fact that there's 64 games on this list, and when you get down to the final four, two of the slots are filled up with a GTA game. Like, okay, I get it, GTA is a popular franchise. 5 has been alive and thriving since 2013. Like, you got to give that game credit, but having that and San Andreas in the final four of the greatest game of all time is a little bit like of a tough sell. Like, I'm sure you can agree with me on that front. And it's just, it's something to think about, because I feel like no matter what, like, credit to IGN for doing something as massive as this, but I think no matter what, you're never going to get a definitive answer for what is the best video game of all time, because there's a ton of factors that go into it. Do people prefer single player experiences or multiplayer experiences? Do people prefer like racing and fighting games, or do they prefer just solo narrative story driven adventures? Do they prefer offline, portable gaming, or do they prefer, fully online connected, massive, MMORPG type games? So it's just a vast array of games to and genres of games to think about.
Yeah.
And it's I want to know how they decided to seed these games, because you could see their seed numbers next to all these games.
Yeah, I
Maybe it
found
was
that
the
very
IGN
strange.
maybe it was the IGN staff themselves that seeded them, but I'm not entirely sure. um I'm interested to hear your thoughts on a solution to something like this. For me, I think a solution would just be to break this bracket up into like genres. Make like a 32 game bracket with like best single player story driven game, with lack of a better term, best online multiplayer game, best fighting game, like, just make different genre games, because I don't think you can compare, like, I don't know, Super Metroid to GTA 5. You just can't compare them because they're two different gaming experiences.
Well,
How do
I
you
mean,
feel?
one's good, Super Metroid, and then GTA is just,
Or like League of Legends, for example, because
yeah,
you've played
I know,
both Super
I know.
Metroid to League of Legends.
Yeah, I've played a lot of the GTA games too, and I just never could get into them. But how would I solve it? So here's my issue. So I really would like the Division, right? But once again, how do you define an RPG? That's been an age-old question, right?
That is true.
Is it the turn-based system mechanics? Is it the fact that you play a role? Is it because there's stats? I mean, what makes an RPG? Are kart racers racing games? Would you put Need for Speed against Mario Kart versus Chocobo Racer? Are those the same games? I don't know. So
Hmm.
it's hard to do. And then once you get the tops, right? Like say top three from each game or each list, then someone's going to want to make a list in the end that says, all right, let's take the top three from all of those lists and make this what we're looking at, right? Where you've got three games speckled in from each of the genres. I don't think there
Right.
is a solution. I think you're just going to make people angry, and what's popular is going to win, not what's great, what's popular.
Yeah, because here's the thing that like separates gaming from a lot of different mediums, is because gaming, you know, despite its huge, market share and how much money it makes and just how much it stresses itself as like a connective like medium, it's also it's primarily, in my opinion, a very individualized experience. It's very based on the types of games that people grow up with and the people and the games that people play today. And
Yeah.
each experience is very different. The games that I've played are a lot different and a lot less, I believe, than the games that you've played, just because I don't tend to stray away from my comfort zone when it comes to games. But you have a lot of different gaming experiences and have played a lot of, like so-called masterpieces. So I think based on the huge variety of experiences there when it comes to games. And yeah, trust me, I'm trying to branch out to different games, but it's a different story for a different day.
Sure.
Um, I think, yeah, I think it's only fair if like we each just made our own bracket and not leave it to one massive gaming news outlet to define what is the best game.
Yeah. I think I think maybe you should have a generational. I think maybe that's the way to do it. So, hey, people born in the 90s, what are the top games to you? People born in the 2000s, what are the top games to you?
Mm,
2010s, I mean, sure, the oldest you could be there is 11, but you're still playing games. Your opinion is valid, even if I knocked you earlier. Or
right.
80s, 70s, even those born in the 60s in the very beginning with Pong, right? Uh, I think I think that's where we can get the best opinions and the best data.
I think so as well. So that is probably going to do it for the IGN Best Video Game of All Time list. There's a lot of games, and a lot of games that they've selected, a lot of games that we could have brought up that they may have, left out. For example, like, was Pokemon Yellow the best Pokemon choice? Probably not. Stuff like that. Was Final Fantasy VII the best choice? Maybe, debatable. So a lot of different games. Assassin's Creed 4 best choice, and Call of Duty 4, and there's a lot of different games you could think about what could have made the list and what couldn't have. But in the interest of time, let's move on. And we
Well, who
have some
wins?
other
Who wins?
who wins. That is correct. We have so we're gonna analyze that next week as well. But we have God of War 2018 versus GTA 5. And in my other podcast, I told my roommate that whichever game won the GTA 5 versus Breath of the Wild half of the bracket was going to win the whole thing, because I think both of those games are stronger and have more hardcore driven fans than God of War and GTA San Andreas. So, in my opinion, GTA 5 is winning this one.
I hate to admit it, but yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Maybe that wasn't
cool.
exciting to talk about.
So we'll reconvene next week and let you guys know that GTA 5 did in fact win, which, we'll see. um, but yeah, so going from IGN voted and fan voted video games to our own voted video games, we have I want to introduce a weekly segment called the Video Game Spotlight. And this is just a game that either you've played throughout your childhood or that you're playing now or whichever, and that you just fell in love with or have fallen in love with. And whether it's one of the most popular games of all time or a game that no one has heard of before, it's a game that you just want to shed some light on and maybe recommend to those of you watching now to maybe give a shot. So I want to go first, and the game that I want to choose for my weekly video game spotlight is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So I played that on the Nintendo Switch version, and I'm gonna be honest with you, both games, the first one, The Blind Forest, and the second one, Will of the Wisps, are both fantastic games. But I'm gonna go with Will of the Wisps here because it takes the Metroidvania genre and it just completely, I don't want to say flips it on its head, but it makes it so cinematic and very peaceful to me in a gaming experience. It makes it not as stressful to me because I'm not like the greatest platformers are like one of my favorite genres, but in high pressure situations I'm not like the greatest when it comes to completing like super difficult challenges. But in my opinion, I think Ori, for just like a casual gamer, is um one of the best games that can offer a unique challenge for anyone, whether you're trying to 100% complete the game or just trying to, ride along and have a stress-free night and just experience the story. Because that's the thing too. This game also comes with an immaculate story. You follow this, omniscient like character that's just, very bright and not, it's just very a whitened, you know, character. I was gonna say colorful, but the character itself is not colorful, but the
Very bright.
emotions,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a very bright character, and just the art style is also very beautiful in my opinion. It's one of those games where you almost can't even stop looking at the background. It almost distracts you, but it it fills the game very nice, and it's almost like you're looking into nature. Like that's how beautiful that game was to me. And the soundtrack, it's a complete indie game, and it's just one of the most whole experiences I've ever had. And I would recommend that game to literally everybody that is somewhat interested in platformers. It's a perfect challenge for anyone who has not really played many video games before or who is a seasoned platformer veteran, because there's so many moves you can unlock, so many secrets you can find, collectibles you can find. And overall, the more time you spend into the game, the more you get to connect with Ori, connect with the story, and the more powers you get to give the character, and just expand makes you want to play it even more. So I'm going to go with Ori the Will of the Wisps. If you haven't played it yet, you can play it on your Xbox, your PC, and your Switch. And I don't think it's available on PlayStation, but I could be wrong. It's a fantastic game, and I will stand by that. One of my favorites of all time.
All right. I have to say it is a wonderful game. I've got to witness it quite a few times being played. I haven't played it yet myself, outside of a few segments where I had to help a couple people with jumps. But it was beautiful, as you said, beautiful game. So let me take that to the opposite of beautiful. Let me get gritty. Okay. Let me go back. Okay. I'm going to pull out a gem from the Squaresoft catalog called Front Mission 3. Okay. So this game was released in the 90s. It is, or maybe early 2000s now. It is a continuation of a war between a lot of nations using something called Wanzers, right? They're these mechanized robots. Think Gundam, okay? And the game is a strategy RPG. So you have to move certain squares and everything, but it has these giant robots that you're just shooting people up with and everything, and you're going against each other. And you think that would be the selling point, but it's not. Instead, it's the story. It was one of the first games to introduce branching options that completely changed the story. And I don't want to get into details because I highly recommend this game, but the decisions you make in the very beginning of the game make either your playable characters the enemies or your playable characters. And so either side, you're fighting against people you would have built relationships up with. And the storyline is just extremely intriguing. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's very modern and at the same time intellectual. And it's just a stimulating game that can be challenging at times if you don't know how to customize things properly or walk into a battle the right way. So I 100% recommend the game. It's got a pretty good soundtrack. It's on the PlayStation 1. And I don't think it was ever ported to anything else. There's a couple sequels and they're not so great. The magic is in Front Mission 3.
That seems like a very fantastic game. Probably was out before I was born, so and I never had a PlayStation 1, so I haven't played it yet. But the way you described it, it seems like one of those games where if you're just trying to blow some steam and just, engage in a fun story, that might be the type of game to turn to. So, very interesting pick for you. Nice pick as well. So, all right, those are two video games. If you guys have games that you want to recommend to us, comment down below for sure, and we will check them out for sure. Maybe we'll feature one on next week's episode. Now, going from spotlights and recommendations to utter disasters, I want to introduce another segment, and it's a very similar segment, just on the opposite end of the spectrum, called the weekly video game fail. So this could be any fail in the gaming industry that you've either witnessed or have, researched before, but just a fail that, could be anything from just minor, laughable, or memeable stuff to just, completely disastrous or bankrupt or, anything crazy like that. I will go first, for example.
Sure.
There's a poster right here. I don't know if you guys can see it very well. It's very bright and overexposed, but that is a poster for the video game Mighty Number 9 on I got it for the Wii U. So Mighty Number 9, for those of you who didn't know, was supposed to be like the Mega Man successor in a way. Many of the Mega Man's creators and level designers came together and did a Kickstarter for this new game called Mighty Number 9 way back in, I want to say like 2013 or 2014 or something like that. And it did really, really well. Like, they promised a lot, like bringing the classic Mega Man gameplay style back, and it raised, I think, well over $1 million, maybe almost $2 million. And, they were able to announce, release, and work on this game called Mighty Number 9. It has this, one robot character, very similar to Mega Man. His name is Beck, and he faces against 8 different robots, which, Mighty's numbers 1 through 8. And I don't remember their names because they're irrelevant at this point. But the point is that this game just completely flopped. You can tell that it just did not take the time that it needed to get polished. The graphics were very underwhelming. I mean, granted, I did play it on Wii U, but no matter what console you played on, the graphics were underwhelming regardless. There were probably some glitches within that game as well, and it wasn't a fun experience. It was very uninspired. It was almost like it tried to be too much like a Mega Man game, that it just kind of lost its own identity in terms of the game it was trying to become. And it just overall wasn't fun because of that. And I can tell you that it wasn't fun because years later, I went and played through all 10 of the Mega Man games and Mega Man 11, and those were like fulfilling, like enjoyable and challenging experiences. But Mighty Number 9 had none of that. I was done after like the second level pretty much, and it was just it was a game that, like, I don't know. I maybe I should go back and give it a chance, but I just there wasn't really much enjoyment to be had with that game. So that's my video game fail, and I know many people will agree with me. Jesse, do you have a video game fail that you want people to know about that you lived through, or whichever?
So I do, but I got to defend that game a little, man. I can't leave it being roasted like that. So I actually like Mighty Number 9.
Oh, okay, yeah. Do your thing.
I've played and beat through it, and I think the cutscenes are garbage. I think the game is unpolished, but I think the concept and some of the boss fights are just phenomenally fun. I like this, that I don't remember what they call it, but when you absorb the enemies in order to build up your powers and everything, I think that's really, it's fast paced. I enjoyed
Right.
it.
Okay.
But
maybe I will give it a chance. Who knows? But
all right, man. I respect your opinion, though. I respect your opinion.
I have the poster.
You do have the poster. Okay, so a flop and a fail. I'm actually going to go with the game I'm playing this moment on the Switch. It's I think it's a Atelier Ryza 2. Okay, probably never heard of the game. But it was an RPG, JRPG, so it sold me. I said, I'm going to buy this game. It's got a number 2 on it. So that means the first one was good enough to get a sequel. I never played the first one. And for anyone who doesn't know, the first word there means workshop. It's a French word. So Rise's workshop too. I was like, okay. So it's a crafting game. It's got RPG elements into it. I was really excited. It's garbage. It's a 60-hour game to 100%. And I can't get through it, man. It's got no real storyline. The characters are bland, unlovable. The crafting system is boring. It's a slog to get through. None of the dungeons matter. None of the enemies are hard. The only thing you can do in the battle system is attack and then chain together combos. It is one of the worst games I played through. And I promised myself I'd finish it. I would finish it before I start another game. And I literally put down my Switch for weeks at time now because of that game, because I don't want to return to my own Switch to play that game.
What are you gonna do when Metroid comes out and you gotta play that game, but like this other
Yeah,
game is just sitting incomplete?
maybe Metroid will give me the motivation to finish that game, but it is a hot pile of rating
Oh
it 2 out of
man,
10.
that is
Boring,
quite
terrible.
quite unfortunate.
They'd even translate the game. It's
Oh,
dubbed, and it's not dubbed. It's just like translations on the bottom. There's no dubbing at all. It's still in Japanese. That's how little effort they put into the localization of this game.
wow. That sounds like a video game fail if I've ever heard one myself. Um, that's kind of ridiculous, but hey, not all video games were meant to be great. That's the reason of this segment. Video games are fantastic and celebratory industry to be happy about, but of course, with an industry as gigantic as the game industry, you will have your filler games in there, those that flood the market and just are not really supposed to be there. So that is that. Those are your weekly video game fails for this first episode of Sunday Night Gaming. And with our last segment for the day, we're just going to give you guys some updates on games that have either been recently announced or games we are looking forward to being released in the coming weeks, months, and within the next year. So 3 of the games that I have written down are Bayonetta 3, which just got some gameplay in this most recent Nintendo Direct and is coming out 2022. God of War Ragnarok, which got some gameplay reveal finally in the PlayStation 5 showcase that came out a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and a brand new 3D Kirby game called Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is probably my favorite amongst the 3, just because I feel like Kirby being in a 3D environment for the first time ever is not being hyped up enough. Like this is this is big.
Monumental, yeah.
Jesse, what do you think? Any of these games hyping you up, or any other games that are coming out in the coming weeks and months that you are excited about?
Of
Want to let the
those
fans know.
of those 3, the Kirby game is definitely the most interesting. I'm not super hyped about it, but I'm definitely intrigued because it could be a complete flop or it could be amazing.
Right, right,
I don't know. But come on, man, you know it already. It's Metroid Dread.
right.
That is the game that I'm hyped about. Is this the game that's going to raise up the Metroid 2D series, the good series, to the highest peaks? It's running off the same engine, or it looks like to be running off the same engine that the remake of Metroid 2 was. And that was a
Yep.
phenomenal remake.
Samus Returns.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's apparently got some real, horror vibes to it, is what I'm hearing. And so I would like to see that suspense brought back in, because I was scared as a child to play Metroid, the original,
Right.
and then Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. I was scared to play them because it was such an isolating game. So
Mm.
100%, I'm stoked for it. I'm happy for it. If it lets me down, I'm going to quit gaming. Don't hold me to
Oh
that.
no.
Don't hold me to that.
Oh no, so much for my podcast. But guys, yeah, no, these are a lot of interesting games to be excited about. I'm definitely very excited about the Kirby game, because it's just another 3D platformer, but it's got Kirby, and having those abilities in 3D space is going to be very fun to utilize. And when the trailer finished, I texted one of my friends. I was like, "Hey, this is The Last of Us featuring Kirby," because literally the setting of the trailer looked like it was in The Last of Us. You were in an abandoned like mall with like just broken everything. Nothing's around. Kirby is isolated. I just found it to be absolutely hilarious. I can't stop thinking about it like that. So we'll see if this game delivers in the spring of 2022. But for those of you non-Nintendo fans out there, there's still a ton of other games to get excited for. Halo Infinite's coming out for Xbox in, holiday 2021, which could be a great return to online multiplayer for the Xbox. Of course, you got God of War Ragnarok coming out next year. You have Horizon Forbidden West coming out as a PlayStation 5 exclusive coming out next year. So a lot of big AAA games coming out for Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo. So this is a really good time to get excited about gaming. And, a lot of news will be coming out on the horizon. So amongst our discussions, we will fill you guys in on the games that we look forward to most that will be coming out soon, and the games that you should keep an eye out for that may be coming out soon. Jesse, is there any last words you have before we close out the podcast?
No, man, I think as time builds on, this show is it's going to be comment driven a lot of the way, and I think you're going to lead us into some great discoveries and maybe reinvigorate some gaming and avoid that ing pitfall.
Exactly. So, guys, that's going to do it for Sunday Night Gaming. Thank you guys for spending part of your Sunday night with us here. Definitely comment down below on some games you've played. Let us know. Fill us in the discussion. We'd love to feature some of your guys' posts and comments within our next show. We're just here to bring gaming together, bring together a bunch of different cultures, and show us, all of the different past histories, uh current gaming regimes, and just bring it all together and shed some light on some games that you may have played, may not have played, and to just enter in some new experiences. So thank you all for listening. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for listening. Like the video, subscribe to the WWG podcast channel for both of our podcasts, Sunday Night Gaming, and I'll have a link to Wednesday Night Football in the description, so you don't want to miss that either if you're a football fan. I am your host for Sunday Night Gaming, Gabe Walerysiak. He's Jesse Waidler. We are signing out. See you guys next week.
Peace.